Are we getting a new Fiend gimmick? Because you've done the Wyatt family and Bray Wyatt, and you sort of ruined that. And then you did that bit with Matt Hardy, where you were the deleters of worlds, but you ruined that as well. And then remember that time where we had Bray Wyatt in drag, the Sister Abigail. But you never actually did that because that was a bad idea before it even debuted. But then, hey, we've got the Fiend, we've got the Firefly Funhouse. Hottest thing in wrestling last year. Kind of misfired on that. But it's still plugging away. It's still really cool. But then you burned him to a crisp on TLC on Sunday night, Randy Orton. So now Alexa Bliss has turned up and said to Randy Orton, he's going to come back. And he'll be like nothing you've ever seen before. It looks like we've got a new Fiend gimmick, friends. I'm Mr. Davis. I'm joined by Lukewarm Luke Owen. Get your super chats in to WrestleTalk.com/support. They're not super chats. They're called Ultra Chats now, Ollie. Mr. Davis, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, okay, here's my bold prediction. The Fiend is just going to come back and it will be like a new vicious side of the Fiend, and the commentators will put over like, wow, we've seen the Fiend be vicious before, but this is a whole different kind of vicious now. He's as vicious as Randy Orton ever was, but he'll just look exactly the same as the Fiend, and it will just be the Fiend again.
So it won't be like a new look or a new mask, maybe a little fancy hat, like Harley Quinn has the hat like sort of off to the side, because that's what I think's happening.
Do you think the mask will be at a bit of a jaunty angle as well to show sort of the off-kilter thing?
I think the mask will be the same, but he might have little fluffy cuffs on his jacket.
Yeah. I think that there may be like a new mask. Maybe he'll have like different contacts in. I think there'll be like they'll incorporate sort of the burns to it. I'd imagine kind of like Kane's mask and gear. But yeah, I think like really it's not going to be a new character. It's just going to be maybe a different look for the Fiend, perhaps.
You're a horror movie aficionado. When horror movie villains get burned and dead, how do they typically come back in the sequels?
Well, I mean, I mentioned Jason in yesterday's review because in like part 7, they do like the big burning scene, right? Like he just, they set him on fire and he walks through the house and the house then just completely explodes. It's a wicked visual. But then like they how do they kill him in that one? Oh, they drown him in water. Like he just sort of like the dad gets brought back from the dead and he sort of like pulls him under the water and that's how they get rid of him. And then he's just back in 8, coming out of the water, looking a little bit slimy.
Well, that could happen. What happened in the actual bit was Randy Orton comes down and he's like, yeah, I liked it. I liked burning this doll to a crisp. Because, of course, that's what happened at the end of TLC in their Inferno Firefly match. Meanwhile, the commentary team are just putting over how Randy went too far. And it was just sickening. And it did my head in. I don't know about you.
I mean, well, it was weird, wasn't it? And when you said like horror movie characters, how do they come back from fire? I probably should have said Freddy Krueger. Like his whole story is that he was burnt. Like that was his whole thing, is that the townsfolk burnt him alive, and then he started haunting people within their dreams. Maybe that's what the Fiend will do. He'll start haunting people's dreams. He'll be like Freddy Krueger.
Oh no, because that's what we need. Mirror reflections.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, because Randy did say in this promo that the voices have been silenced, and all he can hear is the burning of the Fiend. So maybe the new voices that Randy hears, because he hears voices in his head, will be the Fiend, and we will get like Ultimate Warrior style, like reflections in the mirror and things like that. Maybe Randy Orton becomes the Fiend. That's it. He's the new Fiend.
That's what I was thinking as you said that. And look. We're coming up with this on the spot, but there is precedent for that because the whole feud with Bray and Randy before was the idea of Randy joining the Wyatt family. It was the Viper in the Family storyline, one of the best bits of SmackDown in that era, one of the best storylines, I'd argue, until the payoff of the last 5 years. And yeah, that whole idea was Randy becoming a Wyatt, but it was all under a guise. He wasn't really. He was just in there to eventually turn on them. So yeah, maybe the true comeuppance is it's not for Orton to get beaten. It's for him to, get infected by the Fiend virus.
Do you know what? All of this is very weird. And it felt weird watching this as well, because the Fiend's the baby face in all of this. Like, the monster in this, like, Freddy is the hero in this scenario that we're telling here, and it's so weird. And to go back to the question you asked me as well about sort of my thoughts on this segment, the commentary, like, it sort of makes no sense, because they're like, oh man, I cannot believe that you set a man on fire. And I'm like, those were the rules. Like, that's the rules of the match. It'd be like, oh man, I cannot believe he hit him with a ladder in this ladder match. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's sort of, and they're not very good at doing like faked outrage anymore. Byron Sack, well, none of the WWE commentary team. They come across as completely artificial and non-organic. Even Samoa Joe, one of the best promos in the business right now, just wasted on commentary. I forget he's that. I forget that is Samoa Joe. I know I know his voice, but he's just a different person. He's just a WWE commentator now. So I hope Samoa Joe comes back in the Rumble. Why haven't we talked about that? I've been doing all these rumors lists for next year. No one's saying Joe might come back. But so to carry on, Randy, the lights shut down. Randy Orton's like, oh, what's going to happen? The lights come back up. And in what was actually a really cool visual, I thought, there's a full-on play set, like a swing. There's a rocking horse there. And Alexa, stop. Bliss is just sitting there on one of the swings and just being really cool. That sort of cool Sister Abigail style character that she's had.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Harley Quinn, but she's very, very much being sort of Harley Quinn-esque here. She's kind of telling jokes, being like, maybe he's down by the beach having barbecue, that sort of thing. You know, she's sort of laughing, giggling at her own terrible jokes about the Fiend being set on fire.
Oh, Mr. J.
Yeah, exactly. I think is it World's Finest, the animated one, when the Joker gets crushed in the building and like Batman is flying away with Harley Quinn underneath him, and he goes, "Oh, pudding," and Batman says, "By now he probably is." I can't remember. It was an animated movie, but yeah. So she kind of said that he's now he's in the canvas, he's in the ashes, he's in the ground. But if he does come back, when he comes back, it is going to be like something you've never seen before. It's going to be like a really terrifying version of the Fiend, which is why a lot of people think that we are going to get a new character. Like Sean and Denise were talking about how poor old Bray is like, he gets a character going, and then WWE don't really know what to do with that character. So then he has to come up with a new character every 6 months. It's like, well, we don't know what to do. You're a backwards cult leader. Oh no, we don't know what to do. You're a wizard. We don't know what to do. You've got dreadlocks now. Oh no, we don't know what to do. You're part of a broken universe. Oh no, we don't know what to do. You're the Fiend. Like, and it's so poor old. He has to just keep coming up with various different things to do.
Yeah, and I guess you can also add Bliss. Like, look at that Bliss Fiend act. I'm like, well, this is the next stage, right? I want a good 6 months of them together. But we haven't really had that. Even though that was the story, as you said on the TLC review, like the finish of the Inferno match. Well, first off, it shouldn't have been an Inferno match. It should have been something based around Bliss, how she's the weakness for the Fiend. That was the story they were telling. But in the end, Bliss is weirdly not involved in the slightest. And now she's just back to being this sort of herald of doom. She's the Silver Surfer for the Fiend's arrival. Who did I say that about recently? I can't remember. Was it Don Callis?
I think you said he was Don Callis. He was the Silver Surfer.
Well, yeah, because Kenny Omega was Thanos, but those are mixed Marvel references there. But yeah, I don't know where we go from here. I'm not particularly excited. I guess that's the most important question. Are you intrigued?
No, but I think that's also because you and I, perhaps quite controversially so, I did actually see the amount of comments that you got on yesterday's video. Like, I don't know what they all said, but there was a lot of them. Like, the comments were way higher than they normally are.
Well, it was a divisive subject. So there were a lot of people saying that I'm an idiot and they loved the Fiend Orton match. But there were just as many people saying, I hated the Fiend Orton match. How dare you? And then people would have break-off arguments.
Okay, well, I think that's interesting because we did think it was going to be quite divisive, and you and I sort of fell onto the side of like, nah, I wasn't really that much into it, and I don't think this a new version of the Fiend is going to get me into this feud again either, and it's only because, like, pun intended, I think they're sort of hot-shotting it at the moment, and it doesn't feel like, and like what sucks about that is that the Fiend always feels very thought out. Like everything that Fiend does feels like it's had a lot of time put into it. Like, that months and months and months they were doing of like building up to his SummerSlam debut. And now we are just in sort of WWE's creative of hot-shotting things, and we don't really sort of know what we're doing one week to the next. So I don't know, to be honest. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not intrigued in the slightest. All that sort of intrigue I had. I thought Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt wrote itself. There's so much backstory there. And I think they did have a story, and it was about Bliss, but they've changed their minds.
Well, ratings got bad, so you had to do a fire thing.
Yeah, and they've really literally booked themselves into the ground where I don't think they've thought about the next step. And I think I'm not excited because I've been disappointed too many times by this company and unfortunately by their treatment of Bray Wyatt. Let's see what you think. WrestleTalk.com/support to get in your Ultra Chats. We'll read out every single one of them before the end of the show. Renee says, hey guys, how's it going? How do you think the Fiend should return and how should he look like? Because he should definitely not look like regular Fiend. Maybe his mask is kind of brown, rips in his clothing, and limps in a you didn't kill me fashion.
I think like what Rini is saying there, like I do think you need to have a different look. If you're saying that like he's going to come back worse than before, he needs to have something that's new about like the look of the character. Because if you just bring back the Fiend as currently is, that will feel like a letdown.
So when Bliss teased that the Fiend is coming back, she also said he's gone into, absorbed into the canvas, deep into the ground, back home. And I took that to mean hell, what's deep down beneath our feet. So maybe he comes back with
Australia.
Yeah. Or maybe he comes back with a naughty little tail, like the little red tail with the point at the end. It's just like a naughty, because the Fiend doesn't have a tail right now.
And so your big creative thing, are you part of Raw Creative now? Just like, he's got a new tail.
Maybe I submit some ideas every now and again. Benjamin, can't wait for Wyatt to come out of his cocoon and debut the Butterfly Funhouse. That's a good pun.
Genuinely, Benjamin, that's pretty good. The Butterfly Funhouse.
Could this be an attempt at a proper face turn without the spookums? Merry Christmas to you all. Jam that jingle.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Benjamin. They're always going to be magics because Vince bloody loves the fantastique. He loves magical elements about characters that don't need magical elements to them. And no matter what they do with him, even if he is like a full-on babyface, which he is at the moment, because they're like putting over Randy is like, oh my god, he set a man on fire in a match where you're supposed to set a man on fire. But yeah, I think that he will still be a magical character. Bliss was a magical character. She just appeared in the ring with a swing set and like a load of other stuff. So they're magical beings.
Yeah. Chris Wagstaff, I like this idea. Following TLC, I can't wait for the debut of Darth Vader.
Oh, come back like full on. Just like, no.
What would the Butterfly Funhouse look like?
Probably the same, but there'll be butterflies instead of fireflies there.
He could have the butterfly wings.
So so in your version, are we removing the tail and replacing it with wings?
No, I think you want to keep the tail. I'm sold on the tail now. But he comes down from the ceiling with the little butterfly
come from above.
Kevin! OMG, it all makes sense. Fiend will appear in the mirror in front of Hogan at Legends Night. Which will play into that one time, pay off on that one time when Hogan and Bray teased the confrontation. # long-term booking. When was that?
I honestly don't remember. But actually, do you know what? I was looking into Inferno matches, and I think the last Inferno match they had in WWE was Bray Wyatt's, and it was against Kane.
Yeah. That was easy.
I was like,
wasn't that his debut match?
People were like, I have no recollection of that whatsoever.
Yeah. And finally, for now, MJ VDG, Bliss just sounds like cartoon Scarlet Bordeaux now.
Yeah, because I mean, Scarlett Bordeaux's whole thing is, he is coming, TikTok and all that. So yeah, maybe that is what we're going from. That's what we're going with now. She is cartoon Scarlett Bordeaux.
And because Scarlett Bordeaux was so realistic in the first place. I love Scarlett Bordeaux and Karrion Kross's act.
I loved it as well, but I perhaps this is a controversial stance. I thought her lip singing along with the video was goofy as all get out.
No, I love it. I genuinely, unabashedly love their entrance. Right, so yeah, please do WrestleTalk.com/support. Get in your Ultra chats. We will read out every single one of them before the end of the show. And go over to Phenomenerds. We are almost 700 subscribers away from 40,000. Get into board games. If everyone on this stream went over now and subscribed, we'd do it.
Hey, Ollie, I've got a question for you.
Do you like board games?
Because if you do, I would head on over to Phenomenerds' board game channel and subscribe.
Two things if you've not seen the content before and you'll think, I don't want to give it a chance. Check out Adam's sketch from the weekend. It's very funny. A board game sketch about playing games with your family at Christmas, and also his top 10 favorite board games of all time. Maybe you can pick up an expensive new hobby that you didn't have before.
Well, it is an expensive hobby, isn't it? But I love it. I love it so.
Right, so this episode of WWE Raw, it was the post-TLC episode, a pay-per-view that many people were very pleasantly surprised by because it was very good overall, very good and newsworthy. We got Charlotte Flair returning, and we got Miz cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase, so that's written out, and we got The Fiend being burned to a crisp on the Raw side of things. And a tag title change. So a lot of intrigue to see this sort of new season, as it were, this pre-2021 interlude of Raw. And I would argue they didn't deliver on any of that intrigue. It felt like a boring episode when they've phoned in and they're probably just going to do all this big idea changing stuff at the start of the new year.
So, I mean, WWE themselves were in a bit of a quandary, really, because this show is likely not going to do a good number because we're in holiday mode at the moment. So they tend not to do great numbers around the holiday season because people aren't really watching TV. They're spending time with their families. Well, I mean, not anymore. Not in 2020. We're all being told to stay at home now. So they don't want to do anything too big, because you don't want to do anything too big when not a lot of people are going to be tuning in. But at the same time, you got so much interest from TLC and setting a man on fire that you may actually get a lot of new eyes watching the show this week. So what they opted to do was sort of nothing but pretend it was something. So we sort of like pretended like we were starting new things. Like you got the whole Charlotte Flair stuff. You got Angel Garza making his return. You've got Jackson Riker having a match. You're continuing the stuff with Retribution and Ricochet, and Sheamus and Keith Lee, but almost all of that, nothing happened. Like really, the only storyline beat that progressed here is that Miz was likely going to get back his Money in the Bank briefcase, which someone said on yesterday's show, didn't they? Someone said that in yesterday's show. I bet you Miz gets it back.
Guess Keith Lee and Sheamus finally got physical.
Yeah, maybe in a way, but they did that like in the lead up to Survivor Series. So
yeah.
It's not that new.
Well, let's go through the episode from top to bottom to unpack this all. The first thing, of course, it was Charlotte Flair comes out for a promo and Asuka, but mostly Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, Charlotte Flair was proper like Ivory in the lead up to the China feud. My friend China. Like she was proper like my friend Asuka with all of this. Like she said, my friend Asuka, or my best friend Asuka, the person, like she is setting herself up to turn on Asuka very, very soon.
Am I being worked then? Like, because that's good storytelling, I guess. If Charlotte is genuinely playing someone who's overly friendly with Asuka, and it's just a way to eventually turn on her and get the Raw Women's Championship shot, I don't think WWE are going to make Charlotte a heel.
No, and also, if Charlotte watched TV, Asuka was having, like, Asuka gave Lana a title shot, and she gave like Zelina Vega a title shot, so she probably could have just asked and would have got one. She didn't need to go through the rigmarole of pretending to be a friend.
No, I find Charlotte is a problematic screen presence anyway, because I think a lot of people, me included, feel like she's overpushed at the expense of everyone else on the roster. It's not that she isn't talented, she is, but she gets too much. And it's frustrating as a fan to see her get everything. It's like, it's the exact same thing why we didn't used to like Roman Reigns. The other thing is that she's been like, while that's happening, WWE is saying, cheer for her. Isn't she great? Rather than leaning into the natural inclination against her, which would be to make her a heel. So I'm finding it's very frustrating to sit through her segments.
And like Randy Orton is a great example of a wrestler who is just better off as a heel. Like Randy Orton is just like, he is a good babyface and all that, but he's a much better heel. And I think Charlotte Flair, she's an incredible talent, she's an incredible wrestler. I think she is a decent promo, and she's an incredible presence, but she's so much more suited to being a heel than she is a babyface. But WWE do want to keep putting this square peg into a round hole.
They were interrupted by Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, of course, the former tag champs, and then Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke came out. I thought they looked very oily.
Did they?
Yeah. Like, they've got the bodybuilders shtick. It looked like they just covered themselves in baby oil before they came out. They look significantly more slippery than everyone else in the ring.
I mean, it didn't help them in the match. They still lost. Like, Shayna Baszler managed to slip through them and get in the Kira in a clutch.
Yeah, maybe Dana Brooke needed a bit more oil. Just reverse out. You're not going to catch me. But, they had a match afterwards. I thought Brooke looked pretty good in it. She hit a swanton, and she was tapped out by Baszler. Charlotte was on commentary the entire time as well, and just so unlikable. She's so unlikable as a character.
Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't enjoy much of it. And also, like, remember how just last week we were building towards Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus Nia and Shayna for the tag titles, and now they don't have the tag titles anymore. So I guess we're good. I don't know what we're doing anymore. But there seems to be a fair number of women's teams on Raw. I don't know who they're going to defend against on SmackDown. I'm going to guess the Riot Squad.
So Dana and Mandy actually stood tall here. They tipped Nia and Shayna over the top rope, which to me feels like a Royal Rumble setup thing.
Yeah. You want to do that a bit closer to the Rumble. It actually just felt like it just made them look like sore losers. It made me not like them after the match, but like, guys, you lost fair and square, no less. And then it'd be like, well, you will get out my ring anyway. Let's grow up.
Well, you've mentioned that Charlotte and Asuka are going to be on SmackDown because, of course, they are. The Omni Flare is back in force. You never got Shayna and Nia going over to SmackDown that much. They're like, COVID restrictions out the window. Charlotte's back.
Put her on every show.
Hell of a show, though, that they've booked for SmackDown on Christmas Day. A cage match between Reigns and Owens. Yeah. You've got Charlotte on there.
Yeah, we reckon that Big E's going to win the IC title.
Yeah, so they've stacked that up. Not the same stuff for Raw or next week's Raw, but the Raw after that. Oh my, it was announced now. It's Legends Night.
Yes, because of course, we said this as soon as ratings were down. We were like, well, the first thing they'll do is bring back all the legends. But it is to diminishing returns, isn't it? Because they do these Legends Nights so often now that they don't have the impact they used to because it's always the same name. The majority of the names they announced for this were lads that we saw just 2 months ago, like last month, in fact, to say goodbye to The Undertaker. So, like, it's not going to be that impressive for me to see all of these lads come out again.
Okay, so I've got a full list here. I'll go through them. But it's in alphabetical order. Alicia Fox.
I'm not going to say anything because the Alicia Fox fans get really super mad when you don't say that Alicia Fox is a WWE legend.
I'll take the hit, mate. She's not a WWE legend. It devalues the name. Beth Phoenix. Okay, but she's on NXT a lot. Big Show. Literally seen him a lot this year. He main evented WrestleMania. The Boogeyman. Okay. I haven't seen him for a while. Booker T. He's on all the pre-shows. Candice Michelle. Haven't seen her, but I wouldn't argue that I would tune in. Carlito.
Carlito's the one that I was is really surprising, but actually Candice Michelle's a really surprised one because like who cares? Who cares that Candice Michelle's coming back?
I think they've literally asked everyone on their Rolodex that Vince definitely still has a Rolodex. That's his business desk.
It's on Filofax.
But Carlito, I wouldn't say he's a WWE legend.
Yeah,
he's an alumni.
He was. He was once there, but same with Boogeyman. Like Boogeyman's not a legend; he was just once there for a bit.
But Boogeyman, he's brought out so much that he feels like legend territory, just the way WWE have pushed him for the last 20 years. Carlito, they don't reference ever.
No, it's because they don't like him much.
Hillbilly Jim, Hulk Hogan is a big name, but I would argue I'm not impressed. But he could shift ratings, I think. IRS, glad to see that he is doing well. He had a health scare, but of course the father of Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas. Ivory, we haven't seen. Have we seen her recently?
Can't remember the last time we saw Ivory, but like Ivory's a legend in my eyes, but I don't think she is a WWE legend. She's she was a women's wrestler who was in the wrong time. Really, she'd have been amazing if she could have been around now.
Jacqueline, Jeff Jarrett, who's on the pre-shows, Jimmy Hart, of course, because Hulk Hogan's there. Kurt Angle, that's cool, but we saw him on SmackDown just 6 months ago to introduce Matt Riddle, and WWE killed his presence dead over the last 3 years. Mark Henry, we see him all the time. Melina's an interesting one. She was rumored to come back anyway this year, reportedly signed at one point, but yeah, not sure what she's going to do. Michael Hayes, he's backstage all the time. He's just hanging around. Mickie James, she's on the bloody roster.
she had a title match not 2 weeks ago.
Ric Flair, he's there all the time. We've already seen him this week.
He was there on Sunday.
Sergeant Slaughter, Tatanka, and Tori Wilson, which is actually fair. I'm going to tune in for Tori Wilson.
Yeah, Tori Wilson. There's a lot of those names, which is like one of these things is not like the other in terms of like a Legends night. But it's the Legends that are available night.
Legends, asterisk, who we could get on Cameo. So yeah, let's see what happens. I don't think it will do much at all.
We'll see what happens. I'll tell you what will happen. Hogan will come out. He'll do a promo. They'll do a segment backstage where someone gets scared by the boogeyman. Tori Wilson will, I don't know, they'll just have, actually, I'll tell you what they'll do. They'll just have them all come out on stage, clap, and that'll be it. And that's what we'll get. And it'll be a quarter-hour segment.
That'll be worth it. Literally endangering all these old people's lives. That's what they say during a pandemic, isn't it? Herd all the old people together, make them travel, go to a hot spot of cases, and do work.
But Ollie, you know who's wrong? Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is wrong because he shouted at some people. He's someone to make fun of.
Hey, they were reading a script. They couldn't possibly have their own scripts. Right, so that was announced. It is what it is. Hurt Business came out, did a VIP lounge segment. They gloated about the titles they've won. And R-Truth did a little 24/7 title bit. Everyone chased after him. And then Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy attempted some comedy, saying there's more to life than business.
Yeah, it's weed and God. Yeah. I mean, I was actually quite enjoying the VIP lounge until Truth showed up and all of his geeks running after him, which I actually think sort of ruined the segment a little bit for me because I thought, man, these dudes look awesome. I thought Cedric cut a really good promo.
Yeah.
I think like the way that Lashley was looking at him during that promo, like I can't find the words to describe like the looks that they give him, but it's so good. And then there's Truth there, and all of a sudden, like a bunch of nerds run out after him. And it's like, oh, well, now I don't care. And then, the Hardy Bros come out to cut a promo, and bloody hell, Matt Riddle is struggling to cut the promos that they're writing for him. Like it's not his style, but he's like tripping over words. He's not saying them in like a human way because he's trying to remember all the stupid verbiage that they're giving him. And I don't think it's working for him.
Yeah, the gag is Matt Riddle starts talking about how there's more. You just need to chill out, man. You just need to hang back. separate your ego from your consciousness and zoom out to an existential level and realize that we're just a little bit of stardust floating in space, and that sort of stereotypical stoner shtick. But it's like that's it's a joke that works, but it's not like exactly like you said. It doesn't mean you should give it to people if that isn't their character.
And it also feels as well that oftentimes WWE writers will write a promo, don't think it's flowery enough for Vince to like, so they just shift F7 every other word and see, bring up the thesaurus and see if they can find a different word that they can put in there instead.
Shift F7. Brock Lesnar's rejected finisher. Angel Garza's back.
Yeah. Why wasn't this promo with Charlie Caruso? Why was this promo with not Renee?
Oh, what was the name of the woman that was held hostage?
Oh yeah,
the Performance Center,
from Survivor or something, like The Bachelor or something or other. What was her name?
I'm getting a voice. It's the voice that talks to me in Quizzlemania. Is it Demi Burnett? Was that her name?
Mate,
that sounds right.
Someone said it's confirmed. Demi Burnett. Someone said it in the chat.
Yes, I'll have to look at her Instagram. Now I've Googled her. I'll just have that up in the corner.
Not Demi Lovato.
Yeah, so Angel Garza is back. Oh God, he sort of debuted at the start of this year, and we were all very excited by him. He just oozed charisma, and he came back here after a couple of months out, faced Drew Gulak. Match went 2 minutes. Garza won, but every single thing that made him special, all those little flourishes, the little movements, the camera, the eye contact, it's gone.
Yeah, it doesn't feel particularly special anymore. He's just a lad on the roster, which is a real shame because you had something really awesome in Angel Garza. But it just, I don't know, man. Like, he came out, poor old Drew Gulak. Like, February of this year, he had an awesome match with Daniel Bryan. Like, Daniel Bryan was like bending over backwards to try and get like Drew Gulak over as this guy had an IC title shot and everything. And it really felt like he was onto something. And then they were like, no, you're the PowerPoint guy. Be a comedy lad. You're now a jobber again. And, oh, man, it sucks.
Wait a sec. Kevin has just said Angel Garza was the Cruiserweight champion this year in NXT.
Was he?
It's been a long year. All right, so after that, we got a Miz TV segment. The guest was AJ Styles, and Miz kind of wanted to apologize to AJ Styles for cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase at TLC. And Miz, I thought he cut a hell of a promo. Really emotional.
This is the problem I've always had with WWE's portrayal of The Miz, because The Miz can get he gets super serious when he does these sort of promos, but he every couple of months he'll do these promos and you're like, oh, it's a more new serious side of The Miz. And then he's like, and now you're in the Marine 7. And he's like, oh no, so you are just a wacky character and it's impossible to take you seriously. But if you focused on letting him do these promos, you might actually build him up as a serious contender again.
Yeah. Accentuate the sort of positives. He's a phenomenal actor, but by wrestling standards, I'm not saying he should be the next Daniel Day-Lewis, but he's got something there. I was very impressed. But yeah, it was all ultimately for comedy. And then the baby faces of Keith Lee, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre surrounded the ring Shield style, did a rubbish version of last week's Nightmare Before Christmas poem. It was like Nightmare After Christmas. And then they all brawled, and Keith Lee very obviously was accidentally knocked into Sheamus.
This made Sheamus look like such a tit because AJ quite clearly drop kicks Keith into Sheamus. And Sheamus like, what are you doing, Keith? And and it's just watch the tape back. It's not hard. And also it was quite obvious that it's like he accidentally fell into you. But it just made Sheamus the keeper's always such a hothead. I thought that was AJ's gimmick, but he's such a hothead. And it's it makes him look like an absolute doofus.
Yeah. So that's to set up the match later on, which was the main event. We got T-Bar versus Ricochet. T-Bar won in a couple of minutes. So talking of Garza being the Cruiserweight champion this year, Ricochet fought for the WWE Championship against Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, for 88 seconds. It's a nice round number. Yeah. I mean, look at it. We just had on Raw Donovan Dijak versus Ricochet. In PWG would have torn the house down. Here it's 2 minutes and one of them's got a terrible name and a shit mask. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear then.
Naughty Luke.
I know. I've got to edit that now.
Then, yeah, Retribution seemed a bit more coherent this week. There was no kicking Mia Yim out stuff. Yeah, whatever. It's repetitive. Kofi and Xavier.
And it's going to, it's going to keep going as well because they keep saying that like this only ends when Ricochet joins Retribution. So he's got to join or they're just going to keep doing this bloody feud.
Well, they need a tag team, so maybe Ricochet gets some backup.
There's 4 members in the group. Like, what do they mean they need a tag team?
He beat them all with Dana Brooke by his side. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods did a nice little promo backstage. I think it was filmed the previous day. They talked about how they'll bounce back, get the tag titles back. Kofi knocked out a bunch of teeth, apparently.
I know. Did you see the picture?
No, I haven't. No, I just read about it.
He posted like a picture on like Twitter or something. But yeah, like of the teeth. He basically just went backstage and spat out a load of teeth.
Do you ever get those dreams where that happens?
Oh, yeah.
Where your teeth just fall out of your mouth. We got the match that was set up earlier in the VIP segment, which was Lashley and MVP versus Riddle and Hardy. Given like the matches that have happened in this storyline recently, I had higher hopes. It was actually quite a short affair. Lashley made Hardy tap.
Yeah, again, which, you know, we've seen a fair number of times now. Hardy took a wicked, like, I want to say wicked, awful spill during this. Like, they pushed him off the top rope and he just collided with, like, the ring steps and stuff on the outside. It was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeff does just like to take moves actually take them sometimes.
Yeah.
Nah, and I've hit my head.
And I feel like it was in that spot as well. Shelton just looks at MVP and just goes, he never learns.
But yet that sort of was sort of building towards Lashley Riddle, surely. But this wasn't. This story's had good chapters in recently. This was just a nothing installment. Jackson Riker squashed a member of the Lucha House Party. I believe it was Kalisto.
No, it was Kalisto's not.
It was Grand Metalik. Kalisto's out.
It was Grand Metalik. Elias took this this match was so serious that Elias played a song during it, and Jackson Riker won. Cool.
Then we had the Randy Orton segment that we've already spoken about. Then we got another Charlotte Flair appearance because Charlotte and Asuka took on Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans. Royce and Evans were thrown together at the start of the draft after Billie Kay was split up from Royce. I thought they'd decided they were on the same page, but they weren't again here. They bickered. Again, the match was entirely designed around Flair. She got the hot tag. She beat everyone. She made Peyton tap in the figure 8.
Asuka is so rubbish, she can't even beat up people who are arguing with each other. Like, Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans were essentially costing themselves this match, and Asuka still couldn't beat them. She had to tag in Charlotte Flair to get the win. Honestly, if you didn't know, if you'd only been watching the last couple of weeks, you'd have no idea that she's the Raw Women's Champion. Someone actually put up, I think it was Tempest, put up a stat recently. In like the last 2 months, she has had 3 minutes of like in-ring title defenses. 3 minutes in 2 months. Like, that's astoundingly terrible.
But, you know, Zelina Vega and Lana, who I believe those matches were against, she should be putting them away pretty quickly. But you're totally right that they used Asuka as a means to an end here. It was purely just to set up Charlotte's hot tag. Not really like was. Actually, because, you know, in the kayfabe terms of Asuka being the champion, how she was presented through the summer, she should tear through Evans and Royce all by herself.
But yes, and also, dude, like Gordon Ramsay noticed Peyton Royce, so she's now like a media star or something. So they tapped her out, of course. But yeah, they said like Gordon Ramsay did a TikTok with Peyton Royce. And I think what it was is that Gordon Ramsay is just doing TikToks of him watching terrible cooks being like, that's terrible, as opposed to Gordon Ramsay getting in contact with people and being like, do you want to do a TikTok together? I don't know how TikTok works.
Yeah, I think it's Karrion Kross's thing. Don't Don't you mime? I thought that was the whole thing. You mime along to music, like
That's why
Scarlett
Scarlett
Bordeaux does. And the main event was Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Keith Lee versus AJ Styles, Miz and Morrison in a festive street fight 6-man tag, or, as I like to call it, a normal 6-man tag.
Yeah, this was such a street fight that they did legal tags in and they obeyed the rules of tagging.
Where was the denim?
Well, just make it, just have all 6 lads beat each other up. Like, why did you have to do a legal tag match when it was a street fight? Like, the whole point of this was to put AJ Styles through eggnog. And that was hilarious. When they put him through the eggnog, it was really funny because it went up in the air. You put Miz through a table and cookies fly everywhere. It's great. But the problem is you had 10 minutes before of that, of them tagging in and out and their heels working over a baby face. Like, what was this?
The WWE are actually very good at doing these sort of fun comedy festive matches. There's been like was the Halloween match with Gallows and Anderson? There was a Cesaro one.
Oh, they're so good at it.
Yeah.
So good at it. But like I don't know, man. It was so infuriating with them just standing there doing tags when they could have just had fun spots all around.
Yeah, it was. And I thought AJ, Miz and Morrison looked rubbish as well. Like AJ Styles was just of Miz and Morrison's level of just being easily beaten up by these 3 guys. Sure, Sheamus and Keith Lee looked great and McIntyre looked great, but it shouldn't come at the expense of someone like Styles. And they were telling the story that Drew was working well with Sheamus, he'd work well with Lee, but Lee and Sheamus weren't working well together. And at the end, Keith Lee tags himself in. He wins with the Spirit Bomb. Sheamus is annoyed. Bro kicks Keith Lee. Boom. And then it ends like that.
Yeah. I actually quite like that story, though. I thought I was actually I thought the 3 of those told that really nicely throughout. But yeah, and then the end of it felt very rushed because they were like, "Oh my god, there's only 10 seconds left of the show. Quickly kick him."
Do you think? I mean, it felt to me like if anyone's turning there, it is Keith Lee. Keith is definitely carrying himself as a more grumpy persona.
Yeah, well, we speculated that on last week's show that we think that Keith Lee could be the one to turn heel because they tried him as a babyface for a hot minute and it didn't work. So that's the next thing to do.
Well, that was the whole show. That was the end of it there. I gave it 2 out of 4. I give it 2 out of 5 as well. It wasn't like nothing terrible happened on the show, so I can't give it the lowest rating. But it was just nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. I'd have also given it 12. I thought it was a bit of a boring show. And yeah, people seem to like it's kind of a mix between good and poor, actually. 35.7% voted for poor over on Twitter, but 33.8%, which is, roughly the same number, thought it was a good show. So we are still on that. Twitter just loves calling things a good show, even if it's not.
Well, I think it's because average doesn't exist in the 4-tier rated system. So average and good are lumped together.
But that means you've then got to make a choice. Because if you're like, well, I want to vote for average, but I haven't got average, then you've got to make a choice if it's good or if it's bad. And what people chose was like, do you know what? Actually, it was a good show overall.
Well, that one did win poor, and if you'd see the lowest rating was terrible, was pretty high, much higher than usual. Like that is the most negative leaning rating we've had so far, and poor won outright. When everything's been good since we started doing these Twitter ones. So I think that is indicative of it being a bad show and people were disappointed after TLC. We will read out every single one of your Ultra Chats, get them into WrestleTalk.com/support, but also give a man some help. Andy Datson is here.
I am. I'm not outside, so I've decided to put a poster I have behind my head to make it look like I'm outside. It is just.
I thought you were outside.
It's so convincing.
Is that not?
I know. It's crazy, isn't it? Look, watch this.
No. Oh my God, you're in Middle Earth.
It's in Everdell or whatever it is. I've never seen the film.
Rivendell. I am not. No, I have just about 20 minutes ago finished the Andy 500. I've crossed over 500 kilometers. My knees are weak. My arms are heavy. mum spaghetti, everything hurts, but it was very much worth it. It's just too dark outside, so I thought I'd better run inside, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see anything. So just a thank you to everyone who has supported. We've raised almost £1,300, which is fantastic. That's going to do a lot of help. That will, I believe, fund an entire orphanage for an entire year. So that is wonderful stuff. Yeah, money goes a long way in different places, Ollie. I know it's crazy, isn't it?
Orphanages are cheap.
Exactly.
Maybe I should get some orphanages.
We should buy some.
And then we can make the kids write articles, Andy.
Yeah. That's a great idea. I'll now that I've done this, I'll message them and see what they've done. But yeah,
child labor is 2021's big plan.
I have now also shaved, as you can notice. I have finished that, so I will have Christmas to rest my weary bones. But if you do still have a couple of pennies lying around, then justgiving.com/fundraising/ Andy-500. Maybe Jenna or someone could put that in the chat, or just head over to my Twitter at AndyDatson and it will be there. But that's pretty much all from me. I don't think I'll see anyone before Christmas, so everyone in there watching, have a lovely Christmas and have a lovely New Year. I will see you probably on the SmackDown review on the 2nd of January. Have a lovely Christmas, everyone. Enjoy stuff, and I will see you soon.
Pretend to be 2020, and I'm going to be 2021.
Oh, I'm terrible. I'm going to make everyone ill, and everyone's sad.
There, you see, I punched him. 2021's here. So well done, Andy. There, that's some good stuff. Good stuff. And also, slave labor.
Yeah. Can I quickly plug something before we get into the Ultra Chat?
Why not?
On Matthew of Botchamania's Twitch channel tonight, I'm going to be on it.
What?
I know, yeah. I'm going to be on with Matthew of Botchamania. We're going to watch the 1996 Games Master Christmas special. It's the one with the Dave Perry incident. So I'm going to watch that.
Perry incident?
So they basically set up, Dave Perry calls himself the games animal, like he's the greatest video games player of all time, right? So they have this tournament between all the journalists to see who is the best player. And they made him play Super Mario 64, which he's not played, but they've all played a lot because it's not out in the UK yet. And he completely asses it up. And it was just a way to sort of like bully him and make fun of him a little bit, really. It's become known as the Dave Perry incident.
Very good. Well, go over to Matthew to see that later. I'll be watching Elf. Before we get into the Ultra Chats, though, let's say a big thank you to the people who donate to us, which is far, far more commendable than donating to charity. It's our wonderful pledge hammers on Patreon. You should become a Patreon too, because you get loads of exclusive content. Me and Luke just did a full 3-hour review of Armageddon Vengeance, 2001 this week, which was a lot of fun. So go and listen to that. But thank you to our $25 a month or more. I'm Batty Man, Nathan Batty.
Nice, very nice. Cheap pops for them. Get the cheap pops going up in the chat. Jordan Williams, aka Ollie's intern.
Woo! Make me a tea then. Pledge Hammer Power, hero in the half shell.
Lovely stuff. Carve him up, Peter Hamley.
Scary. Colin McLeaner, than Finn Balor.
He's lean. He is lean. I'll have an order of Merriott Whitlow.
Woo!
So maybe.
The Snapdragon King, Ryo Adonde.
Nice. Very good. Luke's favorite director, Christopher Nolan. Well, that's how Chris Nolan's a fan.
The Pim Particle, Terry Hankamer.
Nice. I like that one. The leader of the 314 crew, Elijah Zinselmeyer.
Thank you, Elijah. The $100 man, CD Horver.
Never hear from him. The D. John Mustard.
Woo. And finally, Jim Possible Prendergast. Thank you, everybody. Nice. Let's do these last remaining Ultra Chats. Remember, get yours in. Last call for them at WrestleTalk.com/support. We've got quite a few, actually, so let's Let's crack on. Keith Kutach. Hey, fellas, jam that jam. I'm not hyped for Wyatt's return, honestly, at all. I totally agree with Luke. They don't know what to do with him. It's sad that they have a huge wave of momentum behind him and then derail for some reason. Super sad. Hashtag failed Fiend.
Yeah, I mean, I think WWE he got over so hot at SummerSlam. They were like, well, I mean, he's the hottest thing we've got. We better put him in a title program. Uh-oh, well, we don't want to beat him. Uh-oh, we don't want to put the title on him. Uh-oh, better do that Hell in a Cell finish, I guess.
Ridge, I've seen this suggested. The Fiend comes back bald with a burnt mask.
Oh, no, but the dreads are so cool.
Would be dramatic, though. Never seen bald Bray. Benjamin, Ollie and I are on the same page about Butterfly Funhouse Wyatt. I'm picturing him as Carol Kane in Scrooged, just beating up Bill Murray. I'd say the spook and magic gets replaced with nice happy magic, but of course, still a little sinister. Book it, Vince.
Yeah. Nice shout out to Scrooge there.
With a little devilly tail as well. Matthew Robinson, I love the Alexa. That was close. Playground segment. The thought of the Fiend coming back better and darker is a cool thought. What do you guys think? Maybe a good way to reboot the Fiend.
Well, that's it. Now people are talking about rebooting the Fiend. Literally, 18 months after he debuted. God, that's so sad.
Yeah, a better, darker version of the Fiend. How do you get darker?
Yeah, a better, darker version than the man who went literally inside the mind of John Cena, which is a systematic dissection of a character.
James Hanley, Randy Orton not only will become the Fiend, he will align himself with the returning fake Razor and fake Diesel during the Royal Rumble. All the while, Husky Harris will ascend from the heavens in this hour of need. Help us, Husky. You're our only hope.
Oof. Yeah, maybe.
Kimchi Cowboy, do you think WWE painted themselves into the corner, burning the Fiend character-wise? Greetings from Kyrgyzstan.
Probably yes, because they didn't really know what they were going to do after us. They just wanted us to burn someone.
Apparently, the SWAF Nation wants to know if there's an AEW stream this week. Yes. I'm not going to be on it, though. I'm doing tomorrow's news. And then I'm actually off for 10 days.
Oh, mate, I'm so happy for you. But yeah, actually taking some time off this year, which is very unlike you.
Yeah.
So, I hope you have a nice rest and everything. But yeah, it'll be me and Pete, Chopper Pete, doing the AEW review this coming Thursday. And there will be Raw and AEW reviews next week as well. It's going to be Pete and Laurie doing Raw, I think. And then me and Pete doing AEW. So yeah, so you'll still get all your regular reviews.
No days off. Overall. Matthew Robinson, I think that Miz should have told AJ that Drew was about to win and get up the ladder. He was going to win.
I think that Miz should have told AJ
yes.
that Drew was... Oh, right. Okay.
So Miz cashed in to stop Drew winning rather than making it against. Yeah, that's a good motivation. Matthew Robinson again. Tonight's speech from Miz was his love letter to WWE to let Vince know he will never leave for AEW.
I mean, Miz is... I was going to say, well, also, Miz is never going anywhere. he's a WWE guy for life.
If he goes anywhere, it's to be more of a reality star. Mm-hmm. It won't be to another wrestling promotion. Brett J. Rasmussen, do you honestly think that WWE will actually put the money in the briefcase back onto The Miz? I enjoy The Miz and Morrison, but not as absolute buffoons. And I wouldn't put it past WWE that they do put the briefcase back on The Miz.
Yeah, I think that's the story they're telling. The Miz is trying to find the contractual loopholes that Morrison was actually the man that cashed it in. So Miz should still be the Money in the Bank brief holder. I guess, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to take over the chats?
Yeah, I'm just going to answer this one first here, which is what about the Friday show with Denise? It's on Christmas Day, so there will be no Friday show. But instead, there will be the Christmas special will be going out on Friday instead. So it's a terrible show. I wouldn't recommend watching it. On the subject of Charlotte Asuka, Azo Smith has commentary once acknowledged that Asuka is a double champion. It feels like all the focus is on Charlotte, which is what everyone feared. No one can take away her in-ring ability and star presence, but the booking of her is what makes her unbearable.
Totally agree. They did acknowledge she's a double champ, but it was in passing. All the focus was on Flair.
Luke Sermon says, I think Charlotte is the third best horsewoman behind Bayley and Banks, so I think she should be pushed as much. So I think she should be pushed as much as she is. What's your option on the horsewoman rankings? I think that's really tough because I think they are all just as good as each other. I really do think that. And if anything, I think Charlotte might be the best of them, but like I don't want to take any away from Banks, Bailey, and Lynch because they're all so great.
Yeah, it's hard. I couldn't rank them.
Honestly,
it changes so
do it.
often.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. Pip Conserve always wanted to ask, do you think that Asuka is a better wrestler than Charlotte? Personally, I think she is. As a matter of fact, I go as far as saying she's one of the top 10 best wrestlers in the world, and she's been underutilized in ways that shouldn't exist. I agree.
Yeah, I think it's not even a question. Asuka is one of the best wrestlers in the world. So yeah, much better than Charlotte in ring.
Bo Hill says, people complain that Charlotte has been the same character for 3 years, but the New Day has been doing the same gimmick for the past 8 years. I'm glad that her business won because Cedric is amazing, and I want to see him eventually feud with Bobby for the US title. I'd also really like that as well, Bo Hill.
Charlotte, but she's been face and heel so many times. The New Day have been consistently baby faces, and crucially, they're over in that role. Charlotte's not.
Matthew Robinson, I think that Charlotte should have returned and not won the tag titles, then lose to Asuka and have a loss in confidence to be the queen again. It could have been a better storyline than Charlotte just wins everything and is never pinned.
Yeah, but she ain't losing her first match back.
Bacon Rasher says, hi lads, I agree with Mr. Davis on the poor Raw rating, but correct me if I'm wrong. Do WWE actually have a few storylines going? Best part of Raw for me was the Bliss Playground, but why change the Fiend? Thanks for the morning news. As always, Mr. Davis, winky face because it's not in the morning. Hashtag jam that jam.
Boy, you're welcome. Thanks for watching. But what was the question there? Do WWE actually have storylines going right now?
Yeah,
they've got the Cedric thing. Yeah, they just
Retribution. Yeah, Ricochet cut a promo on Raw Talk where I think he said that he's actually considering joining Retribution. So, there's that going. Kean Cameron, just wanted to say, although I would say that they do a lot of stuff on Raw Talk that never seems to actually then go on to the main show. Bloody Reckoning said she was going after Asuka on Raw Talk. Kean Cameron, just wanted to say thanks for the watch-along stream and entertaining me through these hard times since the first lockdown. Quick question. Do you think that Ricochet can be saved? He's one of the best on the roster, and it's depressing to see him mistreated.
He can be saved. I just don't think it will happen. If it hasn't happened for him now in WWE, it's quite obvious that management don't see anything in him, which is just baffling.
And like Ian pointed out, he's one of the best on the roster. It's depressing to see him lose to Slapjack of all people, which is, it is bad. Nathan says, it says a lot about WWE today that our collective favorite gimmick is a man who every week cuts similar promos about how he likes to sit at one of the short sides of a dinner table.
Well, that's good. I don't think that's an indictment of WWE everywhere else. That would be a great gimmick and a great performance in any promotion.
Brandon Rosen, I sent in a super chat a while back suggesting Raw was as bad as 2000 era WCW, which you lovely gents refuted. I just feel they're doing the same mistakes WCW did, not booking babyface properly and relying on past superstars. Well, guys, how about now? Still no. WCW once had a 3-hour show where there was no wrestling in the first hour. Once Raw does that, then maybe we can talk. Blind Raw says, Raw is just noise at this moment. So much noise and not actually a lot of it makes sense. A feeling entirely encapsulated by this week's main event. Street fight, but with tag rules. What? It's no DQ. Barely any weapon spots, like the finish, but that's it. Well, I think with the street fight, it was only the last 2 minutes that are actually worth watching.
They just put things there to promote it, like fist fight, street fight, ladder matches. They just chuck stuff into onto the adverts without thinking it through.
Speaking of, Matthew Robinson says, Raw Legends Night basically means we're scared of the rating.
I'm surprised Stone Cold wasn't on that list.
Oh, he will be eventually.
Yeah.
Scott Young, there are only 2 good things about Raw, Alexa and the Hurt Business. When that is the case, that is a damning indictment about the state of Raw at the moment, especially when it's a 3-hour show. Also, we'll be looking for any new writers in the near future. I don't know if the website is looking for new writers at the moment. I mean, Andy is in the chat, so you can certainly ask him.
I think we've got everyone filled up at the moment, so not in the near future, but always do send CVs and stuff to support@WrestleTalk.com. Examples of your work. Honestly, if people often just say, any jobs going, I'm not going to reply. You need to have here's what I can do. Here's an example of work. Here's where I've written before.
Brandon Rosen, the announcement of the Legends Night doesn't address any of Raw's issues leading into low ratings. It just further proves that the show is for an audience of one, Vince McMahon. Ratings is down, bad booking, who cares? Vince likes it, and that's what counts.
I don't think Vince likes the Legends Nights. I don't think he likes anything that's happening now. I think he's confused and scared.
Insanity Central. If Humberto and Angel ever become a tag team, do you think they could be the new school version of Eddie and Chavo? That's if WWE knows how to push them. I mean, you could have done that with Andrade, but I don't think the problem is Vince doesn't like tag team wrestling, so I don't think you can ever get a proper push on a tag team. Jonathan Edmonds says, Merry Christmas, guys. Man, the chat is so dark. It's like the DCU, LOL. Too bad Matt Riddle dropped the Matt. He could have been Matt version 2 in a team with Jeff Hardy.
Too bad, Matt. Oh, yeah. I forgot that. Never made that connection.
Matt.
What's the chat doing?
What's chat doing? I
Maybe
don't know
it's
when
just talking about like a man being burnt alive. That's quite dark.
And Matthew Robinson again says, Keith Lee versus Sheamus. Can I get a yes, please? Certainly for that. I think that's going to be a great little match.
I thought you were going to do your lukewarm.
No. I'm retiring that for now.
Keith Katach. Hey, fellas, aside from Chief Roman, what is your biggest expectation for 2021? New superstar push, new intense storylines, or just pure boredom throughout the new year? It's real unfortunate the product has let down so many people, such as myself. Hashtag jam that Emma effing jam.
So, you know what we had this year? It'll be that, but again, because this year was basically what was last year, and what was last year was basically what was the year before. So, yeah, it's that's what we'll get.
But I'm optimistic about AEW. They're just getting better and better and better. But we do have a prediction show at the start of 2021. So we've got lots of outlandish things we talk about then. Mike Jensen, it's obvious that they have stacked SmackDown because it is on Christmas Day. Why do you think they can't just do this normally? Not stack the show because of insert reason.
Well, you don't want to. You can't stack every show. Like that is because you just burn it out too quickly. But yeah, like they stack the show, but they want to try and make people interested to watch on Christmas Day. So yeah, that's what they do every year.
James Hanley again. WWE's problems were summed up the best in your review video, where you gave the reason why Vince sent his big men back to the Performance Center. He went back to what worked in the 80s over 3 decades ago.
Yeah, which is ironic as well, because, the Attitude Era was a really profitable business time, but they sort of never look at like, what made that successful? Oh, it was really cool characters, wasn't it? That people were invested in. No, let's go back to monsters that baby faces can overcome.
Bacon Rasher, if Vince loves the old dudes, then he should do Raw Legend versus current Raw star and winner stays on the roster. Can you imagine Jam that jam?
I'd hate that so much, because there's always that worry that the old dudes will win.
They'd go over in every match. That's what Goldberg does. He can come back after not wrestling for 15 years and beat anyone on the main roster. Mr. Burt Wayne, Gorilla Press, hand-delivered in Medusa to Thunder Rosa's Mission Pro Wrestling to surprise her and her gals, and awarded the inaugural Mission Pro Wrestling champion La Rosa Negra. Cool.
Yeah, thank you. We had that message a couple of weeks ago, yeah.
Alison Kay takes on Thunder Rosa February 6th in a steel cage at Mission Pro Wrestling. Wishes granted only to Title Match Network. There you go. There's Mr. Burt Wayne again. Just No Yes. Hello from Sweden.
Hello,
I will be celebrating Christmas alone to slow the spread. Well done. But thanks to you guys and your content, I will survive. Really, thank you.
Well, Just Know Yes, you can watch the Christmas special. It's released on Christmas Day. It's 3 hours, so that will take up a good chunk of the day. And it's not good, but it will certainly fill 3 hours.
We apologize in advance. Bacon Rasher, finally. Hi again, lads. So us good eggs in the comments, led by SP3 himself, has decided we want to see War Games Quizzlemania. Wrestling Daily versus WrestleTalk. Can we maybe get that in 2021, please? Another day off for work for me with Beer 52. Jam that flan, JTJ. Oh, wow. So the whole Wrestling Daily faction. McCarthy, SP3 Louis, Stephanie Chase versus me, you,
Pete
and Laurie.
Yeah. Or Tempest and Andy, if we want to get on, some actually smart people to make up for us.
Damn, maybe. We've got Quizzlemania will be back on the first week of January, so that won't be the match. We've got something else in store for Tempest, the defending champion, I think. But yes, that's all we've got time for. for today's episode. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks for all of your generous Ultra Chats. As always, go and watch the WrestleTalk news that went up earlier. This is my last time on the podcasts. So thank you genuinely, everyone, all so much. Do love you. But remember this, I am your Jam That Champion. I am better than you. And I will continue being better than you in 2021. Jam that jam festively.
Jam that jam. Love you guys.